But right now, we do want to talk about something that's very important, especially to women, because millions of women are affected these days. And really, every day, about 6,000 women in the U.S. begin to transition into what is menopause, essentially. And this is happening, a natural phase of aging that can significantly impact quality of life through symptoms. You've heard it, hot flashes, night sweats, brain fog. And while millions of women are impacted, many still face some misinformation about the treatment options that are out there, especially when it comes to hormone replacement therapy. So right now we are joined by endocrinologist Dr. Elizabeth Lowden. I hope to say that right, doctor. And try to help us separate fact from fiction this morning on Live Impact News.
Yes, thank you so much for having me this morning.
Doctor, let's start with the basics. What exactly is menopause? How does it differ from what we hear as well, perimenopause and postmenopause?
So menopause, as you mentioned, is a totally normal and natural part of aging. So when we talk about menopause, we include perimenopause, which are the years leading up to menopause. So for decades before this, women have very normal, regular levels of hormones in their body, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and these help with so many functions: mood, metabolism, reproductive function. As they get closer to menopause, these hormones start to become a little bit more erratic. The highs are higher, the lows are lower, and eventually those levels start to decline altogether. It's that change in levels that causes those symptoms of menopause.
All right. So as this happens to 6,000 women daily for Americans or women in the U.S. and happening to the woman's body, we hear about hot flashes, the night sweats. What are some of the more overlooked symptoms of menopause?
You're right. We do commonly hear about night sweats and hot flashes, but there are so many other symptoms that are often overlooked that I think are just as important. Women can have brain fog, difficulty concentrating. They can have difficulty with sleep, lowered levels of libido. Essentially, they don't feel like themselves and they don't know why. The good news is we have therapies that can help with all of these symptoms.
We've heard, many years ago or even recently, a lot of women say, hormone replacement therapy. I don't want to do that. What's the stigma to it all? Why are people afraid of looking into HRT?
Yes, let's clear all of that up. So hormone replacement therapy was very common practice, but about 25 years ago, so a quarter of a century ago, a large study came out that caused a lot of fear surrounding hormone replacement therapy. We know so much more about women's bodies, about menopause, about the safe and appropriate treatment of menopause compared to back then. And we've identified a couple key points in that study that have caused a lot of that misinformation. First, the hormone levels were much too high. Now we treat women with much lower levels of hormones that are very individualized to them. Second, we are treating women that were much older. Now we're focusing on women who are in that perimenopausal, early menopausal state. So it's a completely different landscape than it was 25 years ago, and it's a very safe and effective way to treat the symptoms of menopause.
I love that women like Halle Berry and Naomi Watts and giving, these women that are beautiful and celebrities and they're attractive and still working and they're viable, that they are giving their face and likeliness and sharing their stories to actually say, this is a real thing. You can still be your sexy, youthful self, because it does span so many decades. It can be. How long can symptoms last, and when should women go ahead and seek some therapy or treatment?
So the average age a woman will go through menopause fully is around 51, 52, but the symptoms can start a decade before then. Some women are experiencing them in their late 30s. So even while periods might still be regular, you can have some of these other symptoms. So I would say if you're in that age range and you're having symptoms that might be related to perimenopause, talk to your doctor.
All right. So what should you be asking your doctor, and who makes a good candidate for hormone replacement therapy?
So almost every woman, not every woman, almost every woman is going to be a great candidate for hormone replacement therapy. Hormone replacement therapy right now is only available via prescription, but that's a good thing. You want to sit down with someone that you can trust, that you can have an open and honest conversation with, that's a healthcare provider looking at your medical history, your family history, to figure out what the right combination of medicines would be for you. So I know at Henry Meds, we focus on the individual woman, what her symptoms are. We talk about estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, and then we use a combination of pills, patches, creams, sometimes injections, in order to help a woman feel much more like herself.
All right, it could be a lot of medication, but anything to get to feeling like yourself. For people who don't want to go into HRT, what other effective options are there?
So there's always natural things that you can consider, lifestyle changes. There's hormonal replacements. There's also things like supplements. We don't know as much about those alternative therapies. So we know a lot more about hormone replacement therapy and how safe and effective it is. So while you can consider a constellation of things together, you might want to consider them just as options as part of a bigger treatment plan.
All right, very good. When should one start and when should they stop? Is there a stopping time?
So we want to consider hormone replacement therapy in women that are coming up on menopause. They're in that perimenopausal state, or usually within about 10 years after menopause has happened. But like I said, everyone is an individual, and so there are certain cases that might fall outside that norm, and that's why it's important to speak with someone who knows what they're talking about. As for how long you're on it, you can be on this long term. That's another individual discussion that you'll have with your healthcare provider.
All right, very good. Doctor, thank you for joining us this morning. Any more messages or place to go for more information?
Yes, I would say this is so common. We can help. I know at Henry Meds, we take everybody's care very seriously. Reach out to your primary care doctor, a local physician, or come see us.